Welcome back to Become a Calm Mama. I am your host. I'm Darlene Childress, and I am a life and parenting coach, and I'm a mom, which is obvious, I would imagine, since I'm a parenting coach. But today, I am going to share some thoughts about being a mom on the day of my son's high school graduation. This episode is going to come out on Thursday, June 15th, and that is the same day that my son graduates from high school, my son Lincoln. So last week, I sat at my desk and I started to write a little bit about high school graduations and what parenting means and how, there's this period where parenting sort of ends. And as I was writing that post, I found myself feeling a lot of feelings. Really sort of, it became more of a post for myself, a writing that I was doing to process my own grief and my own loss and my own sadness. And as I was writing, it ended up being a poem. And I thought it would be cool. I'm feeling a little bit vulnerable about this, but I thought it might be cool to share this poem with you because it really captures my feelings about parenting and what I think about in parenting. I'll share the poem with you and then I'll go back and talk about some of my thoughts about parenting and where I'm coming from. I titled this poem, A Very Long Goodbye. Parenting is an invitation to a long walk with a person who slowly unveils themselves to you along a path. This path leads you toward a threshold which ends at a doorway. On one side of this doorway is childhood. On the other side of the doorway is adulthood. For most of the path you walk in front, your child walks behind. You're the leader. They're the follower. For a very short time, you walk beside each other, and we call this being a teenager. Then one day, you arrive at the threshold. You step aside. They open the door. They walk through the threshold. They're in the front now. It's their path. If you're lucky, they invite you to keep walking with them. Parenting is a very long hello. Parenting is a very long goodbye. Right now, my son is about to arrive at that threshold. We have been walking along this path for a really long time, he and I, and I've been parenting him. And what that means to me, what being a parent, parenting, the verb itself, what that means to me is that I am doing a lot of actions. I'm taking a lot of actions. I'm doing a lot of things with the intention of preparing my child to become an adult. I think of parenting as a verb. I think of parenting as a set of actions that we do in order to help our kids be ready to handle the responsibility of being an adult. And when I think about being an adult, especially when I teach my teenager class, I talk a lot about how being an adult means that I have all the freedom and all the responsibility at the same time. So I think about how I have the freedom to spend my money however I want. I have the freedom to spend my time however I want. I have the freedom to look however I want. But I also have all the responsibility of making sure I pay my bills, or that I take care of my body, or that, I have a clean house or whatever it is. Like I can do whatever I want, but I'm also responsible for all of the impacts of my decisions. And that's really what being an adult is all about. And when your kids are little, you are parenting them, right? You're teaching them how to be responsible. They don't have all the freedom yet. You have all the freedom, which means you have all the power, and you're slowly, giving them pieces of freedom as you give them pieces of responsibility. They're tethered together. And so as freedom increases, responsibility increases. And so when kids are little, right, they don't have a lot of responsibility, they don't have a lot of freedom. And that's on purpose because they're young, they're immature. They aren't really ready to take responsibility for their lives. They can't make decisions, they're not responsible yet. And so parenting is this set of actions where we help our kids become responsible, to know how to take care of their bodies, their physical well-being, to know how to take care of their social life, right? Their financial life, all of the practical things that they need to learn how to do, learn how to read and write and do math and drive a car and tie their shoe and go potty and fall asleep and right. All of this stuff that we're teaching them is with the idea that someday they won't need us anymore. And that's why I think of it ultimately, parenting, the actions, the being in the verb of parenting, it will come to an end. There is an inherent loss to parenting. You are supposed to parent yourself out of a job. So when I think about parenting, I think of it as a set of tasks, like almost like a job, right? And then that job ends and you no longer do it anymore. It becomes your kid's job when they become an adult to parent themselves, right? And my kid is not going to be completely independent because he doesn't have all the responsibility yet, because he's not financially responsible for his life yet, right? I'm still going to be taking care of his college expenses and paying for his life. And, I'm committed to continuing to do that. I'm going to pay for him to go to college. So does he have all the freedom? No, because he doesn't yet have all the responsibility. But I have very, very little that I am now responsible for. So he is in a milestone. He is walking through a threshold right now. And we are ending, not parenting itself, but a big chunk of the parenting actions are over. I'm not going to live with him and be waking him up and, managing when he eats. And I don't do much of that now anyway, which is the point, right? I'm not doing that much parenting of my son because he is 19. He's, gone through a lot of the maturation and he's responsible for a majority of his life, his time, and, how he takes care of himself and all of that. The distinction that I want to offer to you is that parenting is a verb, but being a parent is a noun. Like, I am a mom. The relationship that I have with my son doesn't end, even though the action of parenting does end. I keep thinking like adults don't parent other adults. Like, it's weird at some point to think that I should be teaching somebody or telling them how to live their life or telling them what they should be doing or giving them a consequence for their behavior. Like, life gives consequences at this point for my son. I am not giving him consequences. That I have boundaries, personal boundaries, like I would with other adults, and things that I'm willing to do and the conditions I'm willing to do them under. But at this point, I don't have that much, quote unquote power over my son's life. I only have power over what I'm willing to spend money on and how, what I'm willing to do for him. And I have power over that in all of my relationships. So we don't need to get into the weeds about it exactly, but I do think that sometimes parents forget that their job of parenting their children ends when their kid becomes an adult. And I think it's because we confuse your role as a parent with your responsibility for parenting. And what I'm working out right now is, at this point, my relationship with my son is what I have. The strength of my relationship. I'm no longer, controlling him. Not that I think that parenting is controlling a child. That's not my philosophy. But we do have a lot of influence and control over the environment, right? What they watch, what they eat, who they spend time with, where we drive them to, where they go to school. Like, we do have a lot of power as parents over the circumstances. And when they get older, especially in the teen years, is we start to go, we don't have we don't know what they're doing. We don't know where they are. We don't know what's going on. And then they start making choices, and we're like, I can't get them to stop vaping. I can't get them to stop smoking weed. I can't get them to stop dressing the way they dress. I can't get them to, do their schoolwork or care about school, or like, you're right. Like, those are circumstances you don't have control over, because those are internal. That's them and how they show up in the world and the decisions that they make. And that's like the taste of, oh, wow, my kid is going to grow up and they're going to become an adult, and we freak out. And then we want to double down on power and control. And instead of double downing, is that a word? On power and control, what I am doing and what I teach my clients to do is to double down on relationship. Getting to know your person. If you think about the poem, the beginning of it says that parenting is an invitation to a long walk with a person who slowly unveils themselves to you. That is the relationship piece. You are walking alongside of a person. They're little. They're them. They are who they are. And they're growing, and you're discovering them as they discover who they are. And cultivating the relationship, that connection, is going to be what is left when they walk through that threshold, when they transition from childhood to adulthood, when they are on the other side and they now are walking in front and they're the ones forging their own path. Like I said, you're lucky if you get invited to continue with them. My goal for all of you who listen to this podcast and who work with me is that your kid grows up and they want to be in a relationship with you, because that relationship feels so safe. They feel so seen. They feel so understood. They don't feel judged. They don't feel you're resentful towards them. You're not angry with them. You get them, and they're okay. You unconditionally love and accept them. Not necessarily all of their actions, but who they are at their core. Their thoughts, their feelings, and understanding that it's their thoughts and feelings that are driving the way that they're showing up in the world. And you have compassion for how they think and feel. And if they're in pain and they are taking actions because of their pain, instead of judging their actions and making them wrong, you get curious about the pain. That's what being in a relationship with your kid is all about. As you move out of parenting, out of the actions of parenting, you move closer and closer into just the role of being a parent, being in a relationship, getting to know that person as they discover who they are. It's like, I sometimes think about being a mom is like getting invited to be at the front row, the best seat in the house, to the best show on earth, which is your kid's life. It's a privilege, it's an honor. And I don't know about you, but I want to continue to have that front row view. But the difference as they get older is that it's a little bit on their terms in some ways. They're living their lives. They're off in the world and they're doing their thing. And, we're going to keep showing up. We're going to keep inviting them. I said in my teen class, we invite them to the dance and we don't get mad at them if they say no. But we also don't stop inviting them. And that's what I think about as my son transitions to out of high school and out of living in our house and all of that, like I want to keep inviting him to dance with me, to be in a relationship with me and trusting that he's going to want to, but he gets to kind of define the terms of that. And that's really hard because it can feel like they owe us or something, like that they should want to be in a relationship with us. Yeah, sure. If you're like easy to be around and calm and kind and, supportive, but if your adult kid feels like every time they're around you that you're just parenting them, which is like teaching and showing and guiding and pointing out stuff and, hey, you got to learn about this and you don't know about this yet. And how about this? That feels kind of bad. Nobody really wants that. And they want to be in a relationship with someone who's like delighted by them and sees their strengths and sees all the ways that they're good. Everyone is good, but it's so easy as a parent to see all the areas that our kid isn't performing well, isn't, showing up in a good way. It's so easy for us to see all that. I think about how when parents go to a dance recital or like a school performance or something like that, and they watch, or soccer game or something, and they only see their own kid, right? And then they only see their own kid kind of doing mistakes. And when the performance is over or the game is over, it's like you didn't even really watch the game. You don't even know what happened. You only really know what your kid did and how your kid acted. And that's totally normal. There's no problem with it. But when you're watching your child, just pay attention. Like, are you noticing all the ways that they're different from everybody else and they're acting weird and like the other kids aren't doing that? There's a lot of scrutiny. As a parent, we can scrutinize our kids and they feel that scrutiny. And as they get older, as adults, they don't want to be scrutinized. It's actually very dangerous for their self-concept to think that they're not good enough. Like they don't know what they're doing. They're not responsible enough. They're, messing up their lives and all of that. If you're thinking and feeling that, it's going to show up in how you talk to your kids and how you relate to them. And they're going to sense that you don't trust them. You don't believe in them. You don't think they're good enough. You don't think they're, on the right track, that they're messing up their lives. And they may have to reject your concept of them in order to protect their concept of themselves so that they can grow up, so that they can walk through that doorway and take on the responsibility of their life. So what's my point? I want parents with little kids, parents of, middle schoolers, parents with teenagers. Some of you have adult children who listen to this podcast, so you know what I'm talking about. I want you to remember that the goal of parenting, the actions you are taking, the big picture is that you are raising an adult. You are parenting with the purpose of getting yourself out of a job. You are parenting towards a long goodbye. And the goodbye is not to the relationship. Absolutely not. You are a parent for life. You are always going to be a mom. Being a mom, being a parent, that's not a job. That's a relationship. That's a role. And that's not changing. But what you are saying goodbye to is childhood. Your children are not meant to stay young. That would be really weird. And you actually can see that like failure to launch, right? It's like we don't want our kids to not be responsible and to not, know how to like manage their life. We want that. But we also get wrapped up in the identity of parenting. So separating yourself from the actions of parenting is going to help you release your children so that when they get to that threshold, when they get to that doorway of adulthood, they're really ready to walk through it. They feel very prepared. They feel like they trust themselves. They have skills. That's all the parenting stuff you've taught them. And that your relationship is strong. Your children are going to grow up and they're going to walk through that doorway, and they may or may not invite you to walk with them. They might not. Even if you're perfect, they may need more distance. They may need more time away from you. So it's like if you're lucky, they invite you to keep walking with them. So when I think about parenting, I think about it as a set of actions, as things I do to prepare my kid for adulthood. And here we are today. As you listen to this, if you listen to it on the day it comes out, I am sitting on a high school field watching my son in his blue cap and gown walk across that stage and get his high school diploma. And it is a milestone because it marks the end on many levels of parenting. Not all of them, because like I said, he is not financially independent yet. Though that piece, that financial independence, that's the piece that's left, right? That's the kind of the last one. So physically, emotionally, socially, I can't really manage all of those things anymore. I'm not parenting him in that way any longer. And it's hard. I have been sad. I have been grieving. I have been excited for him and sad for me. I'm sad about the change. It's a big deal, but I think the thing that's really been hard is that I'm recognizing that it's the end of an era of my life where I was actively parenting my child. And I'm not going to do that anymore because he's not a child. So parenting is a very long goodbye, and that is okay. It's okay that it is sad for me. It's okay that it's not sad for him. He might feel nostalgic towards the end and those kinds of things, of course, because it is an end for him. It's an end of childhood, right? It's the end of, mandatory education. It's the end of so many different aspects of his childhood, and he can feel sad about it. But I always think it's always easier to be the one who's leaving, right, than the one who's being left. And I don't think I'm being left, but my role is definitely changing and has been for the last couple of years. It's not a sudden thing. The graduation itself doesn't mark the ending, right? It's not like, oh, yesterday I was parenting, today I was stopped. It's a long goodbye. It's a slow transition. And that's what I want to leave you with today, is just some thoughts about the end of an era when you watch your child graduate from high school and transition to college or life outside of, it's not everybody has to go to college, but just whatever that looks like post high school. And that journey now towards financial independence is where he's at. And, we still have a long ways to go in that area. But as far as like I said, the physical, the social, the emotional, my parenting work is done there. Now, what's left after parenting? It's being in a relationship, and being in a relationship with another person is always mutual, right? You have to be, we have to see what the other person is available for and what kind of, what kind of connections they want, how frequently does it work for your relationship to talk? What do you talk about? How intimate do you get? How vulnerable you get? How do you spend time together? What do you do when you're together? Thinking about all the different friendships, relationships you have in your life and how they're unique, and that you're going to create a unique relationship with your adult child based on who you are as people. And hopefully, you have the type of relationship where your child feels safe and feels like understood by you, so that they can continue to seek your guidance and seek your support and rely on you. And that is a gift if that happens. It's what we're doing with the Calm Mama process. It's like calming yourself, regulating your emotion, connecting with your kids, helping them feel seen, setting very clear boundaries and limits. And all of that is for the purpose of raising an emotionally healthy kid who still likes you and who wants to be in a relationship with you when they're an adult. That's what it's all about. And I'm very confident and clear that Lincoln and I have a very good relationship, and he is, we're close. We're connected. He likes our relationship, and I feel secure in it, which is nice. But that relationship didn't happen on accident, right? I worked at it. I have cultivated that relationship for, all along, just really with the intention of connecting. It's that other part of the poem is parenting is an invitation to a long walk with a person who slowly unveils themselves to you. And if you have young kids, elementary school, middle school, teenagers entering high school, this is what it's about. It's being able to step outside of their behavior and all the parenting stuff that you need to do to get the moment to move forward and get your kid to be responsible and get their homework done and not do too much screen time and clean up their room and brush their teeth properly. And that's all the parenting stuff. And the parenting stuff can get in the way of being a parent, being in a relationship with your kid. So curiosity, delighting in them, finding out who they are, what makes them tick, what makes them giggle, appreciating it, looking for the ways that they're successful, looking for the ways that they're thriving, finding out their strengths and doubling down on those strengths. That's what being in a relationship is really all about with your kid. And that's what being a mom or being a parent versus parenting. So you're in that period of time where you're doing both, and it's very intense. You're parenting and you're trying to, be in a relationship with them. So when all else fails, I would say choose a relationship, because the parenting stuff works itself out. Of course, you have to teach them stuff, but you always have time to kind of, teach them to just brush their teeth tomorrow. It's okay. The relationship is where it's at. It's what you have left when everything is said and done. When they walk through that threshold and they step onto the path of their own life, all you have left is the relationship. Parenting ends and the relationship continues. So cheers to you. Cheers to all you parents who are going through transitions or have watched your kid graduate from preschool or kindergarten or middle school or elementary school, high school, college, any of those transitions. If you find yourself in those right now, hats off to you. Cheers to you and your kids. And cheers to you with the summer, mamas, as you some of you are already in it. But as you kick it off and you get into it, just know I'm here. I'm here for you. And I'm in it with you. All right. I hope you have a great week, and I will talk to you next week. Hey mama, if you enjoyed this podcast episode, I want to encourage you to do two things. The first is go to my website, calmmamacoaching.com, and get a copy of the Stop Yelling cheat sheet. You'll get a step-by-step breakdown of the most important tool I teach, which is the pause break. And you'll also get 40 ideas to reset your body and balance your nervous system so you don't have to yell at your kids. You can get a copy of that, again, at my website, calmmamacoaching.com/stop yelling. The other thing I'd love for you to do is go to Apple Podcasts and rate and review this podcast so that other moms can discover empowering and helpful, practical parenting strategies, just like you did today. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. It means a lot to be in your ear every week and to support you on your parenting journey.